Evening and welcome to the December 1st City of Sunbury Council meeting. It is 7:30 p.m. Would you please join me in a moment of silent prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance? Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll call, please.
Joe St. John.
Here.
Damon Capel.
Here.
Greg Elliott.
Here.
Tim Ghost.
Here.
David Martin.
Here.
Cindy Cooper. Here. 6 present.
We did have a meeting on November 17th, 2021. I'd like to make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Damon Capel. Discussion?
To approve what?
The minutes.
Okay, you didn't say that. I just wondered.
It's karma.
Any further discussion? Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Abstain, absent.
Greg Elliott.
Abstain.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. David Martin.
Yes,
2 abstentions, 4 yeas.
All right, we're on to the visitor section in the meeting. Do we have any visitors here this evening that would like to speak? Hello, sir. Come up to the microphone. I think the microphone maybe needs turned on.
Turn it on.
Is it on?
No.
There's just a
You
little
won't see it.
slider.
Yeah. It's on. If you wouldn't mind saying your name and address, sir.
Paul Holler, I live at 575 Red Tank Drive. I'm still just a little bit winded from walking up the stairs.
It's all right.
I've got a comment or two and probably some questions about ordinance 2021-56. That's the one where we're with respect to meta development. In addition to other things, this ordinance is going to create a new, initiate the process, it appears to me anyway, of creating a new community, an NCA. And it also goes on and talks about about the creation of the petition. Then in section 3, it says that the mayor, administrator, director of law and finance director, or other appropriate officers of the city are prepare and sign all agreements and instructions, including but not limited to the petition. With respect to the petition, chapter 34903, which is where the authority comes to create this NCA, reads, proceedings for the organization of a new community authority shall be initiated by a petition filed by the developer. So one question is, what is initiating this NCA? It appears to me that this resolution is in the process, it initiates it. The chapter 34903, as I understand it, says the NCA shall be initiated by a petition filed by the developer. Well, the ordinance says that the petition will be created by those 4 people plus other staff as appropriate. It says that those people are to prepare and sign the petition. So I'd like clarification as what's initiating it, and if it's if the people listed in the ordinance are the people initiating it. I don't know. It doesn't appear that those two issues are congruent. What it appears to me, what the law says is the NCA shall be initiated by a petition filed by the developer. Doesn't say who has to create the petition. I understand that. Just want some clarification. It's not as obvious to me that it probably is to you. The petition, all it does is create, the legal definition of the area, who the trustees are, how they're appointed, among other things. The real nitty gritty for NCA is the covenants. The covenants define who pays what to whom. Since this district is going to be, nobody lives in this district now where the NCA is going to be developed. Or rather, I should say, the NCA doesn't exist right now for the people that live there. This is really intended for the people that are moving in the future. None of the people moving in the future is in this room, even within 5 miles of where I'm standing right now. So my point is, you're not going to know what they think when those covenants are created. However, whoever creates the covenants, is going to make decisions that impact their lives for probably 20 or 25 years. It impacts their lives from their pocketbooks. So I'd like to know who's going to create the covenants, who, when, and where, in a public forum. If not in a public forum, why not? This ordinance has the boilerplate paragraph about all the work done in open meetings. Now, this doesn't address the covenants yet, but the covenant should be prepared, created, in my opinion, in a public forum too. Thank you.
Thank you. Right.
No, one more thing. I don't know where the covenant's going to be created, who, by whom, by what, but I make a specific request. I'd like to be told where and when, where they're going to be created. I'd like to be there. Thank you.
Committee reports. Mr. Elliott.
Yes, planning and zoning, we had a meeting on 11/22. We met with Mr. Mormon around, he's expanding his property off of Kent Parkway. Came up with some contingencies and a plan to meet the zoning code and then final approval based on engineering review. So more to come there. And then we will have a public hearing on zoning code changes on 12/27. And then 60 days after that, we'll have another public meeting during our city council meeting to hear any feedback from the public and then approve all the changes for the zoning code. So that's what's happening in planning and zoning.
Thank you. Mr. Ghost.
Yes, just prior to this meeting this evening, we had our Parks and Rec meeting. Two primary points of discussion there with regard to J.R. Smith Park and the progress down there with regard to Steve looking into security. And looks like we're pointing towards Simply Safe as the vendor that potentially we're using to help us there. Steve's working on a punch list with a contractor and Lions Club, and also working with Chief Howard on the vandalism that took place down there to see what the restitution might produce in terms of assistance. I understand Chief Howard's working with the Delaware County prosecutor as well with the individuals. So also the wall there that we're aware of, the work is being done by Facemeyer. It's primarily been torn out, and work is moving forward with regard to replacing it with the brick, the concrete wall there, support wall. So if we're lucky, it'll be done by the end of the year, we hope, and that'll be a big bonus for us. So, oh, and the bleachers, Steve's still working on, he's working with the football folks, the group there, to see what attendance numbers they have down there, and if we can get by, if they're okay with us putting up a 3 or 4 row bleacher as opposed to working with the existing 5 rows there and expending all the money for the safety equipment around it and fencing. So moving forward there, we talked about, Olivia mentioned the Brownie Troop 4803. They were the first participant in our, she's not here, is she? In our LEAF volunteer pickup program. And so shout out to them. Thank you for that. And we mentioned briefly the budget, which we've previously discussed. There's $385,000 roughly for parks for 2022, primarily for the construction of the Ohio Fallen Hero multi-use trails and the reservoir project, maintenance and contingencies for trees and landscape. I think that's it.
Good deal. Thank you, Mr. Ghost. Mr. Copper.
We had our services meeting before this meeting tonight, and managed to kind of cap off a few things. Among them, Sunbury Mills tree replacement project is complete. 2021 street project finishing up in the cemetery. And then the Little Walnut Interceptor sewer is all but complete as well, pending some early year fence work, asphalt work to be completed at that point. Then we've got a couple things we're looking forward to touching base on again towards the end of the first quarter in 2022. Among them, works on the streetscapes, the streetscape plan, and also putting together a structure for wastewater treatment plan staffing and sort of a bit of forward motion on where we want to go with hiring and staffing for wastewater. So short, concise meeting, nice to put a bow on a few things and move on.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Copper. Anything else? That's that. Mrs. Cooper?
Nothing tonight, sir.
Mr. Martin?
Mr. Ghost handled our meeting quite well. So thank you.
Okay. Good deal. Thank you. We're on the police report. Just wanted to let you know we do have all 4 radar sign speed devices up and running. One area we are focusing on right now from a police perspective is Miller Drive. Also looking into permanent options potentially for Columbus Street. One thing as you're coming into town on 61 and getting towards downtown, I can tell you I've lost track of how fast I'm going on that street, but we did see a drastic reduction in speeding when we had the radar sign up, but now that it's not up right now, we're getting some resident concerns again, rightfully so. So we're gonna take a look at that. But the program is going well with the new signs. One other thing I wanted to mention at our 12:15 meeting, I'm hoping to have the Delaware County Sheriff's Office do a drone program overview where they'll be able to live stream from outside the building, broadcast inside. One thing that our police force has started discussing is a drone program. We are using a drone today for a couple of different purposes. One I mentioned, I believe at our last meeting, was Sunbury Sizzle Sound, doing kind of a population count, how large the turnout was. We've recently started utilizing it for, I would say, developer accountability, flying over Price Farms and Rolling Hills, making sure the developers are doing what they say they're doing. And also, ultimately, we want to be able to produce a timeline version of some of these development projects. It's difficult when you're relying on Google Earth or Google Maps, or you're having to fly a plane over and pay, a high dollar to get aerial photographs. So there's a lot of benefits to it. I think just some of the practical elements the sheriff's office will be able to display and showcase, hopefully at our next meeting. They have 2 different drones. One's, I'll say, more of a high-end personal type drone that the one that is out for service right now is definitely much more on the commercial side of things, and can fly for an hour, multiple operators. I think there's 3 or 4 cameras on it, heat imaging and things like that. I'm not suggesting we would do that, but we may want to wait until that one's available to do the demo. And if that's the case, we'll do it in the first or second meeting in January. That's all I have for the police report. Administrator report.
I submitted my report earlier. It was on OneDrive and in your packet. Many of the items that's covered in my report have already been covered, so I will skip to, we do have an employment offer and an acceptance on the table for our assistant administrator. And you've got an ordinance tonight that deals with that later in terms of compensation. And then I'm going to jump all the way to the end on a little win. We had a failed septic system on the edge of town at a home, and it had languished for a while, and I was able to re-engage with the homeowner, re-engage with his legal representative. And I was down in that office to close on one of the properties we bought, and his representative is a partner there, so I asked to speak with him. Anyways, the owner's engaged a contractor. He's paid his tap fees, and they're working on it. And we're finally going to get another failed septic system decommissioned in a house onto our sewer system. So it's one of those things that kind of languished around, but
He's paid the tap in full already. Yeah. It's quite a
in your last set of tap fee ordinances, you, as an incentive for people to get into our system who are on septic in the periphery area, you allowed for a discount. But yes.
I know in the past, we sometimes had a pay plan.
Yep, no, it was no pay plan. He came in, paid it up, and got his contractor. I think they're working on it, so
Good deal.
it's one of those small ones, but it's good to get it off the table and behind us. So.
Mhm.
And I'm sure the neighbors will be happy.
Anything else, Steve?
That's all, unless you have questions.
Anything for Steve? All right. Thank you very much. All right, we're on to engineers report. Mr. Parkinson.
Thank you, Mayor. I too loaded my report up on the OneDrive on Monday. It's not terribly different from the previous one and the one before that. So at the risk of boring everyone, I'm just going to let it stand for the record, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have on your mind this evening.
Any questions for Mr. Parkinson?
The new crosswalk signalization there, the flashing lights for the pedestrians there, Dave, on Granville, is that all the equipment installed now? Is that operable, or we still gotta wait?
No, we're still waiting for one missing critical element to arrive so that we can make it all work.
Sitting on a crate in LA somewhere.
Out in the middle of the ocean, maybe, yeah.
Incidentally, we flew over there on the way to Hawaii, and I got a picture at 30,000 feet of
All the ships.
the ships. There's at least 30 ships.
Wow.
I witnessed that, so
That's
it's true. No fake news there, sorry.
no fake news.
Mr. Parkinson, I had a comment today from a resident in Sunbury Estates that is concerned about their ability to get out of Sunbury Estates during time when kids are heading to high school with all the cars that'll be northbound on Miller Drive. Is there anything being done to address access out of Sunbury Estates at that time, to your knowledge?
I can take this.
Thank you.
The traffic impact study that was done by the schools as part of their rezoning identified several intersections that were determined to fail on opening. I'll say this: two on the opening day. One was going to be the Miller Drive, Cherry Street turn lane. We addressed that.
Right.
And the other was Fayborough in Miller Drive, which is in Sunbury Estates. And basically a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, could project out what those traffic patterns would do. And you're right, that people may not be able to get out of Sunbury Estates. As part of our agreement with the schools for a 3-year period, the schools will pay for traffic mitigation services, and that could be through the Sunbury Police Department, whomever else could direct traffic. It could be a private firm. We're working right now with the schools on coming up with an agreement where it would actually be Sunbury Police that would be monitoring that, or I forget what they call it, basically where you're allowing cars to go in and out. One way that we're looking to potentially address it is actually using the controller right in front of McDonald's to actually operate the light, and potentially have as they call clear the chute one way. And that's one particular option, but the short version is we will be very invested in making sure that's a safe corridor and that people can get out of their neighborhoods
All right.
when the high school opens.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Anything else? Anything else for Mr. Parkinson? All right. Thank you very much. All right, we're on the resolutions. There are no third or second readings. There is a first reading. This is resolution number 2021.18, a resolution as required by ORC 709.023 subsection C, setting forth municipal services that will be provided to 2.903 acres of land in Berkshire Township, Delaware County, Ohio, if annexed to the city of Sunbury, Ohio, and declaring an emergency. And I'll try to give my layman's version like I always do. This has to do with Miller's Cove, which is the Roman Alien Hughes development that's going behind the fire department. And there was a piece of land that needed to be annexed into Sunbury. And I believe this is kind of a technicality. It's kind of a cover-all, make sure that we're doing everything correct to get this particular parcel annexed into the city. Is that about right, Vic?
That's about right.
Okay.
Yes, it's essentially just affirmative vote on this would say that the Sunbury will be able to provide the services contained in the ordinance should it be annexed into the city at a later date.
Also, this is not an actual annexation agreement. This is just, if it happens, we can take care of it.
Yeah, there's like that multiple step process of annexation. This is, we can provide the services for the 2 acres. 2.903.
Motion to suspend the rules.
Motion to suspend the rules, Mr. Martin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion, roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
6 yeas.
Motion on the emergency.
A motion on the emergency.
Second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. First was by Mr. Martin. Discussion, roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
6 yeas.
Motion on resolution number 2021.18.
Second. Motion by Mr. Martin on resolution 2021.18, second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion, roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
6 yeas.
All right, we're on to ordinances. Third reading, ordinance number 2021.49 is going to remain tabled. Ordinance number 2022.01, an ordinance setting the 2022 annual appropriations. This is a third reading. And I would like to make a motion on the ordinance.
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Cooper. Discussion, roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. David Martin,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
6 yeas.
All right, we have ordinance number 2021.52. An ordinance declaring the improvement to a certain parcel of real property to be of public purpose and exempt from taxation, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund, and providing for the collection and deposit service payments into that fund, specifying the public infrastructure improvements directly benefiting the parcel and declaring an emergency. And I didn't go through and look at the difference between 52 and 53 there. One is Newman Roof and the other is the 1804 property, the second building that's behind Advanced Auto Parts. Which one is for 52? So make sure I'm. Not in there. 53 is. Where is it?
I don't see where.
Okay, here we go. I assume there's exhibits with these that are not in here. Is that right?
Because we had them the last 2 times. We didn't put them in here this time.
What if it's in our minutes?
Good point.
It just states the what the ordinance are, doesn't give.
I'm going to come back to this too, if that's okay with you.
Newman Roofing's 52.
Perfect. Thank you.
It looks like, because I just looked up the TIF ordinance here, it was for .52.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. So this is the third reading, and this is a TIF ordinance number 2021.52. No suspension needed. I believe we do need the emergency for this to be wrapped up before end of year.
I'll motion on the emergency.
Motion on the emergency, Mr. Capel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Goes. Discussion. Roll call.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Jim Ghost,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin.
Yes.
Rick Shays.
Motion on ordinance number 2021.52.
Motion on the ordinance, Mr. Capel.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ghost. Discussion. Roll call.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin.
Yes.
Rick Shays.
Ordinance number 2021.53, third reading, an ordinance declaring the improvement to a certain parcel of real property to be of public purpose and exempt from taxation, establishing a municipal public improvement tax increment equivalent fund, and providing for the collection and deposit of service payments into that fund, specifying the public infrastructure improvements directly benefiting the parcel, and declaring an emergency. And this is the same thing, except for this is for 1804 property.
That's the white office building
Correct.
behind Wendy's. Okay.
I'll make a motion on the emergency.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin.
Yes.
Rick Shays.
Right. I'd like to make a motion on the ordinance 2021.53.
Second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Rick Shays.
All right, we're on the second readings. Ordinance number 2021.54, an ordinance approving other comprehensive basic accounting principles, also known as ACBOA, for the city of Sunbury annual financial statements. No action needed. Ordinance 2021.55, an ordinance approving a contract for legal services with Fishel, Downey, Albrecht, and Repinoff LLP. Is that right? LLP? Okay. For legal services and declaring an emergency. This is needed. This is our legal counsel that will be representing the city in labor negotiations. We need that. I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules.
Really quick, can we just talk about terms and payments and all that, just a little bit of detail on the.
We elected not to go with the retainer program, and we will be, I believe it's an hourly rate.
I think it was $195 per hour.
Yeah. Just a couple of things. One,
Should be in the contracts in here, isn't it?
it is in here. If there's any discrepancies on the cost, we can talk about that in a second, but I did want to mention that came highly regarded. Myself, I think, Tim, you were in at least
Yes.
one meeting
Yes.
with them. We've met with them for the past 2 months or thereabout.
Mhm.
And they just recently represented New Albany in their entire renegotiation of their current agreement. They represent several, I'll say, Central Ohio municipal negotiations. This is one, I'll say, facet of their law practice. They also do HR law and all things civil service. So,
Chief Howard and Mr. Bream are part of the interview process too.
Okay,
yeah, and Deputy Chief Wade.
how long is this pricing good for? Is it a year? Is it, I just don't see a term in here.
Let's see. You need to find it. It's not right there. Steve, do you know the term? I don't recall us discussing like a price increase after a year or something. It was almost like we use it as needed and here's the cost. And I don't believe there was a termination clause in there.
There's not one in there, and it looks like it's evergreen in terms of that price, but
Yeah, I don't see any escalation clauses or anything like that. I just,
The third paragraph of Article 2, under consideration and term of contract, says this agreement may be canceled by either party upon notice in writing within 30 days.
yeah, so a cancel for convenience is great, but
If you review the very last paragraph on page 357 of the packet, parties recognize the city's usage of the attorney shall be at the discretion and direction of the city. It's non-exclusive agreement between the parties. So I think it's just setting forth the hourly rate, which would be essentially what you would be approving in the use. And then if that were going to change, they'd have to come back to council and ask for a change. Yeah.
and I'm assuming if we use them, you have the signatory approval, right, based on your levels of spend.
Up to a certain amount.
Okay. I just
There
wanted,
will be peaks and valleys in this. I would say early on, it's not going to be much, but
right.
probably getting into February timeframe, things will peak a little bit. Do we have a motion on the emergency?
I'll second.
And we have a second by Ms. Cooper. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yeah, excuse me, yes.
Yes. I'm sorry, was that
Did
on
we
the
suspend the rules?
Did I make a motion on the suspension of rules? Okay, so that was for,
yeah. Now we need a motion on the emergency.
okay. Apologize for mixing that up if I did. Motion on the emergency 2021.55.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Cackle.
Yes.
6 yeas.
Motion on the ordinance 2021.55.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Cooper. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Cackle.
Yes.
6 yeas.
Right. We have ordinance number 2021.56, an ordinance authorizing the execution of an option agreement to purchase certain real property in the preparation of a related petition to create a new community authority pursuant to Chapter 349 of the Ohio Revised Code, and declaring an emergency. I'll just give a little bit of background on this. This is a second reading. I don't believe we had any real thorough discussion in our last meeting on the topic, but let's go back in time a little bit. Metro Development is a parcel that we've agreed to allow annex into the city of Sunbury. They're currently in the process of rezoning. We have a development agreement with Metro Development that kind of directs them to pay additional taxes through the formation of an NCA to the tune of 15 mills additionally. That will, it doesn't necessarily in the development agreement direct where those funds will go, but I'll get to that in a second. One thing that that particular development needs is infrastructure. So they're donating, I think it's like 30% of their property to the right of way for Sunbury Parkway. The county enacted a 20-year TIF on that particular parcel that will fund the TID, which is a Transportation Improvement District, which will fund Phase A of the interchange. Additionally, we said, listen, we're not just going to go in here and give you your zoning. There's still a cost that you, the developer, is going to have to pay to, work with us. And they agreed that they would pay 15 additional mills. Mind you, this is an Olentangy School District. They're going to be paying nearly 100 mills of taxes. I think it's 98, if I'm not mistaken, with this 15 mil charge. In Sunbury, you pay, I think, 55. So whatever your property taxes are, double them. That's like the per unit, like relative measure. What this particular ordinance does is it's an option agreement, and it's an option that will never be exercised by the city to purchase land from the developer. And what this does, and it's something that I personally negotiated with the developer, that I didn't want the developer to have on a 7-member board 3 of the 7 seats. I wanted Sunbury to be in control of that board. So, and when I say Sunbury residents have to be, nominated on that board. So if anything changes with the original petition and the covenants and where the funds are supposed to go, and I'll get to where the funds are going, then we would have 6 board seats and they would have 1. And the way that we do that is through an option agreement to purchase property that will never be exercised, which basically says we are the developer. The city is the developer. And even though Metro Development is the developer, we are now the developer. It puts us in the driver's seat, and it allows us to expand the NCA when other developments come up. And so the properties that are adjoining to these properties, to Metro Development, can come in and say, okay, I want my parcel to come in. And that board of 6 and 1 can negotiate and direct where those funds go. We can expand the board. We're talking about expanding the board potentially up to 13 members. That would mean if you think every new parcel that comes on could add a member, and it would have to be a substantive property, like 100 acres or more. This could really be an engine that can fund, and I'm getting to the punchline here, where every mill of this 15 mills is going to go is towards the interchange. And that is unlike any other NCA we've ever done. The NCA that we have in Sunbury Meadows goes directly to the schools. It's 4 mills. It's for all Sunbury Meadows, all communities of Sunbury, all Price Farms, all Rolling Hills. This NCA is significantly different from anything we've ever done. It's different than the Galena's NCA. And Galena's NCA, they take 4 mills off the top and put it into their general fund. They take 4 mills and they give it to the schools. Pat Shiley's NCA that was constructed, I'll say concocted, was like a 150-page petition that never was filed because it was so complicated. There were so many fees. There were so many charges that made no sense. We had to delineate between Big Walnut School District and Olentangy School District, try to make it fair. And if you're a car dealership, you pay 18 mils. But if you have more than 100,000 square feet of concrete, then you have to pay an additional 3 mils. So no developer was ever going to develop it. What Metro said is, listen, we agreed upfront, we're going to annex in, we're going to pay 15 mils. Where do you want that money to go? It doesn't really matter. It does have to develop, it does have to benefit the parcel, to Mr. Holler's point. It does have to benefit the residents. The benefit is it goes towards putting a road that makes their property accessible. They cannot develop the property unless there's a road. So to say that, you know, we want to know where the funds are going, it's really simple. It's going towards the interchange. All 15 mils for a period of 20 years. And what Mr. Holler was at, I think, saying earlier was, you know, he wants to be involved as like a watchdog or oversight over, you know, protecting the future residents who will live in this neighborhood. They are going to be renters. They will pay the price, you know, they will know the rent before they move in. They're not going to say, hey, you know what, year 15, we're just going to kick up your charge. That's not how it works. Day one, their prices are going to be higher than the property next to them. If that risk is on the developer, not on the people who want to live there. If you're tracking with me, this is an option agreement to put us in control of the NCA. It does not authorize anybody to go sign a petition. The petition language isn't even on the docket right now. It's not even up for, it's not even legislation at this point. This is to start the ball rolling, to Mr. Holler's point, and there will be additional steps that if you want to continue to hold the developer accountable to pay more taxes than anybody in the area, it will allow you to do that. Any questions?
What's the board that you're
An NCA board. Mr. Holler used to serve on the Sunbury Meadows NCA board.
okay.
So did Rick Ryba. They honestly, I mean, no offense, they don't have as much power as you probably think because of the covenants, because like when you set up the NCA, it tells you here's who's going to be paying what for what properties and where it's going. And they do have discretion on who they use as legal counsel, who they use to do their accounting. I'm underplaying the importance of an NCA board. I don't mean any disrespect, but the NCA board kind of follows the rules. They are the watchdogs of the NCA to make sure, you know, when the money's going into the bank is, you know, they're not moving the funds somewhere else. That is the primary role of that board.
And 7-member board that's going to be
To start.
created for this property. And then as property is it finalized that as properties, adjoining properties, that it's going to be, the board is going to expand, or is that still in?
It's not finalized. It just gives the option.
Yeah.
It gives the option. It's the most flexible but straightforward NCI I've ever read in terms of the petition. I can circulate the draft language. It's pretty straightforward. Ricker and Eckler is representing the developer. Squire Patton Boggs is representing the city, as they always had. They're a bond counsel, and I've never seen them work better together. And the reason is because Trey Giller from Metro Development and myself said, we're going to follow the script that has been approved the entire time. We're not trying to play any funny games. We're not trying to pocket 2 of the mills into our general fund. We're not trying to have you pay more than 15 mils. You pay 15 mils, it goes to the interchange. It benefits your property, period.
And the interchange is Sunbury Meadows Parkway, when eventually it gets completed.
Sunbury Parkway.
Sunbury Parkway, yeah, Sunbury Parkway.
But the project is the interchange project. I can't remember the exact terminology. It's like US 3637 expansion project,
Right.
District 6. Something is there in the petition. It actually references the ODOT project is where all 15 mills go.
15 mils goes towards that.
Yes.
So does this require action
Yes.
tonight?
Yes, it does.
So can I make a motion?
Well, I'm sorry, one more question. What the option to purchase what property as it's in here?
It lists it in here. It's like, I wouldn't read too much into this, Vic. If they ask any questions about the option agreement, you might have to jump in here because it's an option agreement to purchase that will never be exercised. That's the way I interpret it.
Exactly my understanding from talking with David Bream yesterday. working on this as well. The contract, the purchase contract is also in there, the sample that would be exercised to the extent it was, but it's not going to be. It enables, like the mayor said, for the NCA to potentially go forward with the city being, as the mayor indicated, the developer, so to speak, so that we would have the control
Okay.
of who is ultimately on that board.
The vast majority of this first initial 7 members, hopefully 6, are representing Sunbury.
Yeah, it will be.
It will be 6.
So this is the only way that will happen. If we don't do this, the NCA board, which okay, I'll just back up. If we don't do this, we open the door for the developer to have 3 seats and we have 4. If, all stuff broke loose and we just said, you know what, we're not going to ask the developer to pay 15 mils. We don't need an NCA at all. But that totally defeats the purpose when we have an agreement saying the developer will pay 15 mils.
Right.
It's a cash stream for a needed interchange and the developer is playing nice.
To answer Councilman Elliott's question, on page 25 of your packet is an exhibit in one of my reports that outlines the ravines at Meadow Ridge, and that's the property that has been referenced in the option agreement.
Yeah, sorry.
Option to purchase the ravines at Meadow Ridge.
The 67 acres for $11,246,400 at $165,000 an acre. Correct.
So now may I make a motion to suspend the rules?
Yes.
I make a motion to suspend the rules,
Motion by Mr. Morton.
unless Mr. LA has other questions.
No, my questions were answered, so I will second. your motion.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Craig Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
6 yeas.
Motion on the emergency.
Motion on the emergency, Mr. Martin.
Second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Craig Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
6 yeas.
Motion on ordinance 2021.56.
Motion by Mr. Martin, 2021.56.
Second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion. Roll call.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Craig Elliott,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
6 yeas.
On the first readings, ordinance number 2021.57, an ordinance approving the execution of memorandum agreement with Larry M., Mike Foreman, Luann Foreman, and Mary Jo Foreman Miller, successor co-trustees of the Betty G. Foreman Family Trust UTA, May 19th, 2003, and Sunbury Development LLC, an Ohio Limited Liability Company, and declaring an emergency. And I'll say, I'm going to give, again, a layman's version of this. There is a detention pond. It's primarily a dry detention pond on the north end of Kintner Parkway, south of the old Mulch First facility. And it basically was set up a long time ago to serve as the detention, I'll say, stormwater solution for certain parcels in that area. The foremans currently control the property. It doesn't make a lot of sense that they're controlling a stormwater asset, if you will.
They don't want to control it either. Right?
Yes, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, they don't want it. Mr. Newman, who has the parcel directly to the west, needs to access that property, I think, for an easement, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it's a sewer easement, isn't it?
Sewer easement there.
And we would need to grant him that sewer easement.
Correct. Correct. And I can't remember all the details, but the bottom line is we're not really paying anything for it, maybe $1 or something. And then Mr. Newman is going to pay Sunbury for the easement. Is that generally correct? High level. Mr. Foreman and Mr. Newman are playing well together, and Steve, I think you went out and walked the property. We're going to take the money from the money that Newman's going to give us and kind of clean it up a little bit, maybe cut down some of the overbrush, make it a little bit more sustainable. Is that fair?
Yeah, actually, the brush that's in the pond itself is desirable because it cleans that stormwater when it comes in. So, and it gets big and then it dies off every year. So in Brad and I's opinion, the feature was working properly. It's got a good environmental ecosystem created there for cleaning stormwater. The inflow structure was very sound and the outflow structure seemed fine too. So I think there may be a tree or two that's in the banks that we take off just so they don't fall and disturb the bank, but and you know, the ultimate goal is Mr. Newman needs a path to get his sewage to us, so.
Sounds good. Do you have anything, Mr. Parkinson?
I just want to clarify one statement. The agreement states that Newman agrees to make a monetary payment to Sunbury to assist with current and future maintenance costs associated with the property. So he is not purchasing the easement. He is assisting you with costs for future maintenance.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. I think there is an urgency for Mr. Newman. There's an urgency for us all to kind of just button this up. I think everybody will be happy at the end of the day. Mr. Newman will be able to get his building out of the ground sooner.
Mhm.
Anybody like to take action on this? That's okay. Got first reading, and I'd like to make a motion to suspend the rules on this.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Ghost. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damian Capel.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Cindy Shepter-Ways, 5 yeas.
Good deal. Got a motion on the emergency 2021.57.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ghost. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damian Capel.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
5 yeas.
All right. And I'll make a motion on the ordinance 2021.57.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ghost. Discussion. Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Damian Capel.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
5 yeas.
All right. We're on to ordinance 2021.58. An ordinance amending positions and pay ranges for employees of the city of Sunbury and declaring an emergency. And there are a couple changes that we made.
The assistant.
Steve, do you want to highlight the
Sure.
changes?
The two positions were the assistant administrator and the finance director. For the assistant administrator, it puts us in a marketable position for that. And I still think we're getting quite a bargain in the employee who's agreed to come to work for us.
Any discussion on this? Questions? Comments?
Future proofing this? Is it, I guess, the range is high enough is my question.
No.
Okay. So we could come back to this in a year or two.
Yeah, actually,
Every year though, the
Yeah.
new rates, yeah.
Okay.
I would say we'll probably be coming back to it in April, honestly. Especially for the wastewater service department.
Yeah, that's what I was looking at going. Okay.
All right.
Needs action tonight?
Yes, sir.
Make a motion to suspend the
Got a
rules.
motion to suspend the rules, Mr. Elliott.
Second.
Second by Mr. Capel. Discussion. Roll call.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Damian Capel.
Yes.
Tim Ghost.
Yes.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin,
Yes.
6 yeas.
Motion on the emergency.
A motion by Mr. Elliott on the emergency,
Second.
second by Mr. Capel. Discussion? Roll call.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Damon Capel.
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin,
Yes.
6 yeas.
Motion on ordinance 2021.58.
Second.
Motion on 2021.58 by Mr. Elliott, second by Mr. Capel. Discussion? Roll call.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin,
Yes.
carries.
All right, we've got ordinance 2021.59, an ordinance approving the commercial and industrial site plan and building application of Larry Mormon Investment LLC for construction of building additions to an existing industrial office warehouse located at 720 Kinder Parkway. It says in declaring an emergency, but does not require action. And we are on to new and unfinished business. Let's go through these purchase orders real quick, then we'll go to around the table. We have purchase order 35158 Perry and Associates 2018-19 audit, $15,700.
That was the 18-19 audit. It's complete. It's out on the auditor's website. This is the charge.
I'll make a motion on purchase order 35158.
Got a motion by Mrs. Cooper,
Second.
second by Mr. Capel. Discussion? Roll call.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
6 yeas.
Got purchase order 35187 Squire Patton Boggs 20,401.85 legal services. I would say the majority of these were in NCA negotiation discussions between Metro Development and the city of Sunbury.
I'll make a motion on purchase order 35187.
We got a motion by Mrs. Cooper,
Second.
second by Mr. Martin. Discussion? Roll call?
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin,
Yes.
Yes.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
6 yeas.
This next one, I would propose we just have a line of credit since we get refunds from them as well. Purchase order 35196, Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation, workers' comp coverage, $15,374.00.
This
This
is
is the annual premium.
BWC premium. It is not all of it. It is what they estimate it to be. They want it paid by the end of this year. We have to pay the true up and we'll do that sometime mid-January.
Any more refunds coming?
They haven't said anything.
So if we pay it, if we don't use it, they give it back. Is that? I was gonna say.
We paid. We just happened to get a refund when they did they refunded a lot of the money because of COVID,
Oh, okay.
and that was it.
Well,
Helps
I was
community.
gonna
that's not
say.
exactly right. It's because their claims were so low, they weren't paying out. City of Columbus got $65 million refund last year, and they're spending it all this year. Just read the dispatch. I'll make a motion on the PO 15374, number 35196.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion? Roll call.
Joe St. John,
Yes.
Greg Elliott,
Yes.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Damon Capel,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
All right, we're on to new and unfinished business. Mrs. Cooper.
Nothing tonight.
All right, Mr. Martin.
Did we skip one?
What about blanket purchase orders?
I just want you to look at
I believe
out there.
are they in our
They're
packet?
in there.
We just don't need action.
I don't want any action tonight. I want you to look at them because I'm going to change things. This was just the first blush that I want you to look at it, know that we'll come back and for approval at the next meeting.
Can I ask for a question? How hard would it be for you to bring in what we did for blanket approvals side by side for 2021 versus 2022?
It's
How hard?
actually there on that spreadsheet. It's not on that one, but it's on the OneDrive because there's a tab for each one. But I can
Nice.
I can put them together and hide the stuff in the middle so you can see an actual comparison. So yes.
All good. I'll
We're
figure it
gonna
out.
change some names because like bugs and bees I have been bought out, things like that. We want to make sure to catch the things that we don't didn't catch or we discovered that we use, like Sunbury Tree Care,
Yep,
stuff like that.
good deal. Thank you.
My only new or unfinished business is I look forward to seeing you all on the square Saturday evening for Christmas on the square.
How does that start?
4.
4:00.
4?
The parade's at 5:30? Yeah. Who's gonna be the grand marshal of the parade this year? Anyone know?
I think it's David Parkinson.
I heard he's riding in a really nice car.
Is he?
Dave Parkinson, I believe.
Are we riding in the Buckeyes?
His red Honda.
No, the Benz with the top down.
Am I riding in there?
Yeah.
Oh, shoot, okay, all right.
Am I riding in there?
Let's roll.
I'm even taking it to the car wash tomorrow, so.
Thank you. I'll see you there. All right, good deal. Mr. Elliott,
Nothing for me.
Mr. Ghost,
Nothing further, sir.
Mr. Capel.
Nothing.
I will be as fast as possible. I do have one official proclamation. This is for Tree City, USA. The official proclamation for Tree City, USA. Whereas in 1872, the Nebraska Board of Agriculture established a special day to be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was the first observed with planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world, and whereas trees can be a solution to combating climate change by reducing the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cutting heating and cooling costs, moderating the temperature, cleaning the air, producing life-giving oxygen, and providing habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource, giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now I therefore, Joe St. John, Mayor of the City of Sunbury, do hereby proclaim November 24th as Arbor Day in the city of Sunbury, Ohio. And I urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day to support efforts to protect trees and woodlands. And I further urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote well-being of this and future generations. Dated 1st of December.
You're here.
And the tree that we'll be lighting Saturday night was planted by our tree commission on the square for a Tree City USA qualifier a while ago.
They drove that big piece of equipment and dropped that tree out there?
That tree wasn't that big when it was.
I was gonna say, it probably wasn't
That
that.
tree was big. That came in last year and that thing was,
That wasn't a last year tree.
we'll bet on it.
She says it was.
Oh,
Oh, it was?
He did.
that's a Douglas fir. We just put that in and I've got pictures to show out the piece of equipment that was about as big as this room that dropped that thing
I'm
in.
sorry that it's not the tree I thought it was.
It's okay.
We lost that other tree.
Oh, it was planted right there though, right? Right about there. Okay. Same place, wrong tree.
Let's cut
But
down this one.
Everybody can plant a tree and gladden your own heart plus your neighbors. All right. We got a couple other things really quick. Christmas on the square. Zoning, the Boy Scouts came. It was awesome. I had a really good time interacting with the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts.
I was just about to correct you.
Thank you for giving me the nudge.
You can see-
They
feel
were
my eyes.
awesome. I love that stuff. I spoke to every 7th grade class in careers a couple of Fridays ago. Took a day off work to speak to all the classes. It was awesome too. That's the part that I love. Yesterday, Steve and I met with the Berkshire Township Administrator, Township Trustee DeTillo, Galena Mayor Love, and he and we had breakfast and it was really nice and it was good. And we're going to plan on doing that quarterly just to keep lines of communication open.
Was the Galena administrator there also?
Was not.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Because you announced he was gonna be part of that last month, last meeting, yeah.
Yep, he was not.
Okay.
So hopefully he's there at the next one up. And that's it. I did want to let you know, if I didn't say already, drone footage of tree removal over Price Farms. Officer Brooks is doing that. I'm going to figure out a way, an effective way to get you the videos so you can see the impact of the tree removal. And on Friday, I'm meeting with Ohio Treasurer Sprague at 2 p.m. Looking forward to meeting with him. That's all I have. Any other discussion, new business, new or unfinished business? All right, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Elliott. Discussion? Roll call.
Joe St. John.
Yes.
Greg Elliott.
Yes.
Jim Ghost.
Yes.
Jamie Capel.
Yes.
Cindy Cooper.
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
We're meeting. If anybody wants to talk about the NCA stuff in